Anamnesis, Volkstrot. The work is made up of 4 panels and basically depicts 3 different scenes. The series of 6 women who are dancing together in a traditional Afrikaans dance. It's called the Volkstrot or the Langarm. And these 2 women, almost twin-like women, Boer women, identified by their headdresses, and that they're wearing kappies, the traditional Afrikaans kappie. And these women are dancing across the surface, across these 4 panels. And the panels are divided up with these gold discs, 3 gold discs per panel, which makes basically 12 gold discs. This scene here, the women are up close, holding themselves in the position of the Volkstrot. In this case, they've got their arm this way, they turn here, and basically come back to this side again. So it starts this way, and they turn this way, and then they come this way over here. So it's almost an allegory of their movement, but in actual fact, the women are very static in the artwork. So although there's a sense of movement and dancing, the women are actually very, very static and solid in their forms. And the way they join up, the movement of their flesh against each other changes. And so the 2 stomachs changes to the buttocks and back again to the 2 stomachs in a kaleidoscope of monumental masses of flesh form. The women are meant to be monumental, and they represent kind of permanence and solidity. We don't really see their face. They're not identified as individuals, but rather as a particular type, and in this case the Afrikaner type. One might wonder why the women have no clothes on. In this case, it's the purely naked, and the physique of the woman, their genitals have become almost like weapons. It's a way of defending their nationality and their heritage. On the one hand, possibly through a pregnancy, in that the woman appears to be quite pregnant. On the other hand, a defense through their sexuality and their fecundity, that these women are definitely have a shared kind of fecundity. I don't mind in the reading if the women are seen as a group of women, possibly 6 different women, all in different positions or stages of the dance, or if it's one woman read as an allegory at a time of a woman moving across the surface as the 2 women dance. These gold discs represent many things for me. On the one hand, they're symbolical of coins, and the gold coins that used in the early days to exchange as money, what money has replaced, as symbols of wealth and symbols of Johannesburg, the capital of South. Sort of not really the capital, but sort of the main, the richest sort of main mining area in South Africa for gold. The surface is made up once again of large dots, and then the forms are not really painted but rubbed in with black oil paint. And I've chosen to work in quite a traditional medium, canvas and oil, and then use this with gold oil paint as well, so being to leave the gold oil paint as well. The process is almost like in erasing, rubbing away, rubbing into it, kind of sculpting. And then when I'm drawing, I sculpt into the surface. I feel like I'm cutting back into space, and I quite enjoy that effect. And yet these splashes, the dots of paint, bring one right back to the surface again, establishing the surface of the canvas, and then these massive forms are molded back into space. The light is always coming directly from the left, shining across the forms, creating these very heavily chiaroscuroed figures. So in this Anamnesis series, I think what you've seen is start off where the women were of different types, so we had women from different racial groups. These were often juxtaposed with some kind of animals, sharks, crocodiles, etc. And it was a kind of symbiosis between the animals and the forms, the female forms, the Venus kind of figures that I've been drawing. The figures, the different racial groups were identified by their hats, and each woman in the early part of the series tended to dominate a single panel, and usually the second panel by the animal, which would represent some stage of the woman's work or cultural placement of the woman. In a very metaphorical kind of way or symbolic way, one could say that. As the series developed, the woman started to break out of the single panels as I began to realize. Initially I thought I could move and shift the panels around, and then later as the series developed I realized that those panels were fixed and that I couldn't really move them once the work was completed, and that the work changed too much for me. And so the figures began to break out of the single panels and now I've broken across a series of panels, and can only be read now when the panels are put together into a sequence like it's presented here. There's a particular place now for every panel as well. And slowly as the series developed, I decided to focus a lot on this concept of a folk. In English that would mean the people, cultural people, folk being the Afrikaans folk, and trying to focus particularly on that kind of aspect of South African history and where that's gone. And in that, this particular work has landed up in a kind of dance, a cultural dance. I still wonder if I presented here a celebration of new things to come, or if it's sort of the last dance of the culture. And I think that's really left open to the viewer and also to the future of this country and the people in this country, the different cultures in this country. And I think I like that openness, and I think that creates an interesting effect, a meaningful effect and contributes to the content of the work in a meaningful way.